I'm Alex, here with Bad City.
Hi.
The Beard.
Yo.
And Gelf.
Hello.
And yeah, today we're talking about RTSs. Our first is, we're going to go through general mechanics for RTSs and their differences. And so our first game is going to be resource gathering, and it's crafts, right?
Well, we're mostly going to be talking about the craft series, which is, Warcraft, which really kind of, as far as I know, made RTSs really big. And then we touch a little bit on Starcraft as well, because it fits into the same sort of thing. And then we also wanted to talk about the Command & Conquer games a little bit. Is there another really big kind of resource and base building IP for RTSs?
And their creators created the RTS.
As far as
Dune 2.
Dune 2?
Dune 2.
Nice.
That's the first one.
And then the other one, another one we're going to do is 4X, right? 4X.
We roughly think it's called 4X, but
yeah, I looked it up.
Sort of like, oh, you looked it up?
Yeah, I looked it up. It's where you take where there's a turn-based component and a real-time component put together.
Yeah. So if those of you know, think civilizations like go to sort of standard when you're normally out in the map, like controlling your empire,
where you're building,
and then whenever your armies get into a battle, it goes into a sort of standard RTS.
moving your troops.
We'll let that standard.
Wait,
that's it's a thing. Okay.
No, Civ is the first part with the turn base.
Okay,
Okay.
Well,
I'm telling you it now.
Civ as an overworld, and then you command your dudes in real time.
This is the third time we've went over this.
Yep.
But that's okay.
And the main series that we're going to be talking about for that particular category is we're going to be talking about the Total War series, particularly Shogun 2, since we all just bought that. Well, most of us bought that recently.
Except for the city.
Yeah, no bats in ancient Japan.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of us know that as a fact, but
I'm pretty certain they had bats.
I know, right? But and then our third game is is squad based. I always forget that when I'm saying it because I'm thinking group. But yeah, squad based, and the one we've all actually played for our discussion here,
popular.
And yeah, probably the most popular is going to be 40K Dawn War 2.
Yeah, the squad base is kind of like a new thing emerging right now. It wasn't very big. It was always the standard, like the craft games. But now they're moving into this new squad based kind of idea.
Actually, Dawn of War 2 is pretty much the only one I've ever seen.
Well, no, it just came out.
Well, no, didn't you also say that the first ones, the regular Dawn of War, did it?
No.
No.
Which one?
Warhammer, a game that came out 2005, I think, was Warhammer Battle March, which is just based off the original Warhammer. But that one kind of does it. Just in a
I can't really remember too many examples, but it definitely seems like something emerging more of the squad base.
Yeah. For those of you who have played more tabletop turn-based games, which of course that will be a much smaller portion of the audience than those that are coming here to play real-time strategy games, it's basically going to have more similarities to that, where you have a set number of units you can bring into the battle, and you decide on those beforehand, equip them beforehand, and then they're in there, and you do stuff.
Yeah, like the original 40K, which was a tabletop war game.
Yeah. That's the popular one. I'm pretty certain all those people I just addressed, that they've probably all played that. And about 90% of those people I just addressed, that's the only one they play.
So much money.
If we were actually popular, I bet we're gonna have people like emailing us and being like, "We totally don't play 40K."
If only we can hope. But
let's move on.
Let's move on to something more our general topic of resource games. Don't the crafts only do like 2 resources?
Actually, all the crafts. Wasn't there 3 resources, or was it just 2?
I thought it was power, like for Starcraft, wasn't it power?
Starcraft is 2. I think the original Warcraft, I want to say they had
Warcraft?
3. There was stone, wood. Was there metal as well? Josh?
I think there was food.
Gold?
No,
Gold?
wait, no, it was with.
I know there was food. There was
Warcraft. It's food.
there was a mine
Yeah,
for
gold,
There
gold,
was
stone,
wood that you would
and wood,
gather,
yeah.
and there was food as well, sort of. But it's more like an accrued resource than a gathered resource.
Yeah, you just.
And then they had stone, so technically there was 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They did have stone?
Yeah, they had stone. I remember.
Well,
Well, at least with Warcraft 3, I know they had stone.
Good man. No, you know what else game that I have played?
And you gotta talk a little bit louder, Gelf. You're the opposite from the.
Yeah, I tried telling you guys to get over here, but
Anyway,
nobody listens.
a game that I have played that's actually quite good. I've recommended it. It's called Spellforce.
I should have played more spells.
Yes, and it has resource gathering. Just thought I'd fit that in.
Yeah.
And you can talk about Spellforce.
You can,
yeah,
no,
so,
none of us know about it, so
okay.
you're gonna have to be the one.
The only one I've actually played is Spellforce 2. And that one, you are the Shikon, a human mixed with dragon blood. And what's going on in this game is the Pact, which is Dark Elves, have made a pact with the Shadows.
A little less story, a little bit more mechanics that we're mostly talking about.
Anyway.
So we can review Spellforce at some other time.
Yeah, I can totally add something to the site about reviews.
Anyway, okay, so the mechanics is it's a base builder along with resource gathering, and you make single units at a time, like in Command and Conquer, and but what Command and Conquer doesn't have is heroes.
Yes, it does.
Well, it does. Yeah, it does. But what I remember, he's talking about something slightly different. What I remember from the little bit of Spellforce I did play, it was actually a RPG RTS.
Thank you.
Where your main character was your hero, and he would level up. And I know in some of the craft games your heroes do level up, but it's a much more deeper leveling system, much more like an RPG. Only you would control them from a top-down or even more third-person view if you wanted to.
Do you have stats for your attributes?
Yeah, they did.
Every level.
You get skills. You can choose between magic and combat, and then in the expansion they added the blood, which allows you to tap into your dragon blood and become more powerful that way.
Alright, so do you add your attributes though? I forget because he said you get to pick between combat and
Magic.
Magic. That's all. Do you get any abilities every time you do that?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
And each one they have the subcategories like heavy weapons, heavy armor, dual wielding, and bows is for combat, and then for magic you get elemental magic, mind magic, black magic, and white magic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that has some similarities to say the squad-based games where you can level up your dudes and you can
the longer they're
equip
in
them with
combat.
different things, change what kind of abilities they have. So there's kind of
you're talking about Dawn War 2.
similarities
so,
between the two.
Yeah, our squad-based game, Dawn War 2, kind of took what the original resource gathering games had for heroes and kind of focused purely on that, where you would have either a group of heroes or in Dawn War you bring in 4 of your heroes who each have a couple of extra guys with them, and you level them up very specifically. They gain experience, and when you level up you get to choose where you want to put their perk points or ability points.
Yeah, it's the ability points.
Yeah, ability points, and you could freely change out the equipment however you wanted to.
Which is extremely nice.
And every so often in their bar of leveling up each certain thing, there was eventually a new power or ability.
Yeah, which could get pretty amazing at later levels. I really loved my guys when.
The only problem I have with the Dawn of War 2 is that you can't choose your factions.
And that's the one drawback of the original Dawn of War 2 is over the original Dawn of War games, which were much more resource gathering, had 9 different factions, and you could play each one of them for the campaign. But Dawn of War 2, since it focused so solely on leveling these guys up and having this really cool overarching story for it.
And
They didn't have any extra time or space to develop additional people, which they tried to fix when they let out the Retribution expansion, but it sacrificed the squad-based building and how good the story was to have the additional armies. I personally don't like the choice very much.
Yeah. And back to what it was about talking about the when they level up, or when your hero levels up. In Warcraft 3, your hero only got like an ability every time, and their stats would just go up on their own.
Yeah.
So
they occasionally got new.
Yeah.
I thought they got it like every level. They got a new one, and then it redid it, and then it redid it every map.
Yeah, it was every match they would start at level 1 again, but you didn't get an ability every level. You would just get stronger, and eventually, when you hit a certain level, you would be able to get another ability.
Oh, alright, my bad. It's been a good 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I picked it back up again a while back, just out of curiosity, because I found it, and got my face owned, because those old craft RPGs are a lot harder than the new ones, from what I can tell.
Well, that is a lot of stuff. People who are playing those also are very, very, very talented at them because they know everything about them. If you're still playing Warcraft 1, it's probably not because, it's the only one you can afford. It's because you're excessively good at it.
I remember sometime after I played Warcraft 3, I looked up and found it was either a Flash version or some kind of online version of the first one. And played a little bit of that, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing because they didn't tell me too much, and they expected me to actually go through everything. But in that version I was playing, I couldn't look anything up.
Oh, that sucks. I had a lot of fun with the Warcraft games back when I was playing though. Some of like the little strategies you could do. Like how there would be one giant forest between you and your enemy, and if you wanted to try to stealthily chop your way through the forest to get at the back of their base was always really fun.
Yeah.
It was just really neat.
I'm about to play these games.
You should. I have Warcraft 3 if you want to buy it.
I'm gonna have to borrow that.
Yeah. But yeah. Like also one of the things I actually liked about the Warcraft games though is like what he was saying, whether it gave you the options of doing these weird things like stopping everyone, mining up and getting all the resources, or just plowing around their base and then secretly doing that. Yeah. So what were you saying? Because you were saying to go on.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of mechanic maybe. So we can do something else.
Yeah, we should touch on the Total War games now, because we haven't talked about it. Very much. So for our introduction, trying to kind of explain what kind of games we're talking about. For those who hadn't played them.
Yeah, okay. So, do that.
I'll explain it.
Okay, so...
yeah, you played the most. You'd probably know the best.
Okay, so we've explained what the Total War games are. They're a mix of Civ. You're playing...
I accidentally pushed the button.
Okay, so it's a mix between Civ and RTS. With these...
One of the unique things about the Total War games is just how historically accurate they are. They really they pick a period for each game.
Okay.
The one that we got was Shogun 2, which is feudal Japan.
15. You start in 1545.
And they went through a lot of detail. You can just look at the maps and...
I wonder how long it took to research all of this.
I bet they just had like a team of history guys.
Probably. Scholars.
They probably did, but it still would take a long time to actually figure out all the different things they wanted to incorporate, and then having them tell them anyway. So
yeah,
how long that would take alone.
But they're really cool and historically accurate, and there's a lot of really tiny details that one doesn't really notice the first time through, like little bits of the economy that you can tweak.
Unless you're really looking for it.
Word of advice, if you're playing Shogun 2, turn it on auto tax. Made my life so much easier.
Well, yeah, but you have a lot more control if you personally mess with the tax.
You do. So much easier.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games that you can really kind of pick it up and have a good amount of fun with it, just like the basics, and have the computer do a lot of things for you. Or if you're one of those guys who are just the really like strategy RTS just loves it and just want to go in and mess with all these little tiny numbers and
They're
things.
insane.
You can go really in depth if you wanted to.
Everything's all about the numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, what was
Yeah, so you take them and you build up your army, and then you fight your enemy army if you run into them. And the difference that kind of separates it from like the resource gathering ones is it's more like the squad based, where only the guys in that particular army are there, of course. So you can't like build more people, and you can't build a base or turrets or anything like that.
right around their base?
No turrets in feudal Japan.
Yeah.
Basically,
Well, no, they would have they could have towers.
You can bring in siege engines.
No,
Which is
guys,
catapults and
I know.
stuff.
and you can build castles.
I'm over halfway
But
through
you
the
can't build
game.
castles in
their
their army. Though. If
castles.
you build your castles in the overview, you can build buildings. But once you're down on the battle map, you can't build anything.
Yeah,
anymore.
it's just
Well,
yeah,
that's what I
You
mean.
guys want to know something funny? I'm over halfway through the game. I have one siege unit, and it's a guy that throws bombs.
like you haven't unlocked anymore, or you just haven't built anymore.
I haven't unlocked anymore.
That's probably because of your the person you're being.
Maybe probably just the choices you made. Work out.
Well, whatever. Anyway,
I love me
I
some
still have
catapults. I love just getting a bunch of artillery and any RTS really. Just get a bunch of artillery and shell the hell out of
You would artillerize.
Yeah.
The more
So,
that you
just
can
like the way I kind of see it is, though, compare it back to the resource gathering one, is it basically takes all of the parts of the game that don't deal with fighting in a resource gathering one, where, well, yes, resource gathering, building a base, all that kind of stuff, and takes it from being something occurring at the same time as the battles or alongside them to being in this completely separate overworld map.
It makes it a much larger scale kind of thing, where instead you're supplying just this one army and just this one location, you're supplying like an entire nation of people
Also,
and building all that.
they're
County.
the RTS battles are 10 times more strategic than resource. No.
And
Pick your words wisely.
line you're touching on
Yeah.
that, Jerry.
Okay, because think about it. When you base building, every guy you have is expendable. You do not need to keep this guy. You can build another one.
That's
Yeah.
true in a way, yeah.
It depends on the situation of the map, of where you are.
In general, though, every guy is 10 times more expandable. With this one,
You have to. Your losses really count for something when it makes it where it makes
Because
it where
it kind of
you.
ignores some of the most prominent strategies amongst a lot of resource gathering games, such as say just killing a whole bunch of workers in Starcraft games, which is one of the quickest ways to get people pissed off at you. So that whole things are expendable isn't actually true.
But you do have expendable units. Like if you build a bunch of infantry guys and send them at your opponent, if they die, okay, you'll just build some more.
but
if they did,
lose an like one of your major armies in one of the Total War games, you are completely screwed until you can get either another army that is just as big.
Alright.
Because if you get invaded,
and also even if you lose guys in when you're sieging someone, later on or like even next turn, someone could go and attack that base and totally kill all the guys you just sent there.
yeah.
And it's kind of for naught. So.
Well, at the same time, though, you have to understand that in a resource gathering game, the primary resource, beyond all the other resources that you can gather, is time. If you build up this gigantic army and have them go try to slaughter the other guys, what did you just lose? Certainly you didn't lose your money, and those guys, you lost them, and you could try and think of them as a resource, but it's not quite the same. What you really lost was time, the time to have to rebuild all those soldiers. If your enemies took them out quite as well, they can just build up an army, or they can already maybe have an army and kill you beforehand. Let's say they hit an army right next to where your base is. You send all your guys out to attack, and it takes them a little while. Now you can just get attacked immediately. The fact is that it's a completely different type of strategy, a type of strategy focused around time.
Well, this is focused around time as well. Okay, you can't sit there and wait out the RTS battles. You literally have 60 minutes to finish a battle, or you lose. Also, each unit takes a certain amount of turns to produce,
which is ridiculous. Which will be really bad if like your opponent has like any amount of units afterwards.
So right now,
if you lost a bunch of
in my Shogun game, I am taking on the big Shogun guy. I'm taking on the Shogun. He has 2 places. In these 2 places, he has 3 major armies. Okay? Plus his allies. My first turn, I sent an army in. It was as big as his, he wiped it out. Along with his own.
But you killed his, but you took insane losses.
Thank you. He now still has 2 more humongous armies right at my border. I can do nothing about it.
Well, we're basically talking about the same thing. The only difference is what Delph was originally talking about is that inside the individual battles, you are stuck with just the units you brought. But once you bring it back, you zoom out to the whole thing. It's essentially the same situation, just where in the resource gathering games, it's all done in real time, whereas in the 4X.
Yeah, 4X games.
In the 4X games, it's all done in a turn-based sort of thing.
It becomes more about turn management than time management. You have as much time to make your turns as you want, but you don't want to end up using a turn incorrectly.
Yeah, it's less real time and more time measured in turns. You can spend an hour taking your turn, but nothing will have happened until X amount of turns go by.
Yeah.
I'd say they're both equally strategic. It's just that you're dealing with different variables you have to manage here.
Oh, personally, I find the 4X games that I need to use a lot more strategy in my battles and time management.
It could be that maybe you're just better at those.
I've always preferred resource gathering games myself, but that's mainly because of my preferred RTS strategy.
It's turtling.
Yeah, I'm just a huge turtle when it comes to RTSs. If I can sit there and put myself behind a huge wall of turrets.
Because we're not going to presume that everyone is completely in the know as to what turtling means.
Yeah.
It's basically playing very defensively.
Yeah, you sit there behind a giant wall of turrets and or defenses or just a line of units, whatever the game allows. And you sit there and force your enemies to keep coming at you until you build up a big enough force to crush them all at once, and they waste all their resources trying to get through your wall.
And I prefer resource gathering or resource building. No.
Okay. Another thing about that whole time management, turns versus real time is with the Shogun games at least. Everything's a lot closer. It's really easy for someone to move their army from say a few blocks away because it's in these kind of weird block shapes to where
Some kind of grid.
Yeah, some kind of grid to where if their base is on the other side of the field because they're playing semi-defensively and so they don't keep moving their base up and they have to walk all the way there, which will take a while. You can make at least 3 or 4 groups of guys to at least hold off them for you to be able to make 2 or 3 more groups of guys to be able to do that.
It is kind of scaled in a way though. All the way moving all the turns it would take you in a 4X game to move from X distance away to someone's base to someone's city because you don't actually have main bases exactly in 4X games.
Yeah, but
You kind of scaled the amount of time it would take you to run from across the resource gathering map to their base. It's kind of scaled how fast your units come out compared to how long it takes them to get there is going to be roughly the same, I guess.
Yeah, but the reason why I'm saying it's a little bit more drastically different than that is because with the 4X games, when they take over your places, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Where on that game you won't not saying you won't, but if you're both playing an equal kind of strategy where you're on the opposite side of the field, you're not building stuff all the way over there and getting all that stuff destroyed too. So that's also a waste of time, kind of. Valid argument.
No, that's
Okay.
not true. Yes.
Anyway, so what I was saying was, I do prefer resource gathering to 4X. I'm just saying, I feel that I'm being more tactically challenged on the 4X games than on resource building.
Oh, yeah, for tactics, though, I actually find myself really enjoying the squad-based stuff that's come out.
Squad-based, yes.
Because that's one reason why I like Retribution less, is because people, I guess, had wanted armies back. So they kept the squad-based thing, but kind of like made it more like an army, so you end up having a ton of dudes, but are trying to manage them just like you were managing 4 in the previous game.
Yeah.
So it doesn't flow as nicely.
Unless you have obsessive compulsive disorder.
Or you're just one of those people who can spend enough time practicing to manage 20 different guys in really micromanaging ways.
Which means you'd have obsessive compulsive disorder.
We shouldn't insult our listeners.
We're not insulting them. We're calling them what they are.
I don't know.
Fact.
I prefer Retribution to,
And that's why you've beaten 3 campaigns or whatever, and I've barely finished the one. I haven't even finished the one.
I'm just like having more than one faction. You don't like being Space Marines.
He does
I
like
love the
Space
Space Marines.
It's just
I just like Chaos more.
But yeah, I can't manage 4 groups like that to like move in the specific like coordinated
you
time
throw
frames
grenades
or
at
whatever.
everyone.
I can just throw the grenade and it works on everyone.
For now.
Explosive solution to every problem.
I'm sorry, it's true. It's like
P
what?
equals plenty.
What movie was that? That's a quote from. There isn't any problem that can't be solved. Wait, what?
No, I'm just saying, let's not get into argument.
It's not like we're not trying to figure it out.
Precise application of high explosive. There was some quote from somewhere.
If we start doing movie quotes, guys, this could go on all night.
Let's go on.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going. I can't do that.
So-
We do all that on Monty Python.
The type of tactics that a squad-based game kind of encourages, ones that it becomes much more, how would I say it? They remove a lot of the things that don't have to deal with how you want to attack or get past your enemies.
You can never overwhelm with numbers. Like you are always outnumbered.
It removes a lot of the options, but in doing so allows you to really have to think through the few options you've got left. I'd say it becomes one that's still easy to learn, difficult to master, but it's easy to learn up to the middle level of understanding of it, as opposed to with a lot of other kinds of RTS where it's easy to learn how to be a very simplistic beginner, maybe.
Again, but that depends on your play style. If you actually like thinking things through, yes, it can be difficult to master. But if you're like Alex here, who just likes blowing stuff up,
which is
it's totally easy.
But that's
to
not my
master.
tactic in resource games at all.
Yeah, not in resource games, but in squad based.
In squad, I can't figure out anything else.
Crap out of everything, you can totally do that.
Yeah, like
there's enough explosives. Trust me, I know.
In a squad-based kind of game, you have to be very. It also there's no such thing as expendability.
Yeah, you guys can die, but you have to pick them back up. And if you don't pick them back up, you're probably going to lose. And if all your guys die, you lose the game. You don't just lose an army, you're done.
Well,
it's reloading.
Yeah. If you lose every single soldier you have in any of these games,
except for all your soldiers include 4 guys.
Yeah.
4 guys in their squads.
Yeah. But the squads guys don't even really count. They're just kind of there to provide additional lines flying across the field.
Yes.
Yep.
Additional lines are a good thing, though.
True.
Yeah.
Little particles.
Oh yeah. The other thing I actually use on the squad game is that machine gun guy.
Yeah, I love the heavy bolter guy.
Yeah, I love him. So
properly applied location of a heavy bolter can decimate it.
It can. It's insane how good a heavy bolter is if you place it right.
It's pretty much as close as I could find to getting a bunch of artillery guys. Was to get heavy bolter guys.
One of my favorite tactics was I was only in the very early part of this, but taking the
tactical Marine guy and having him jump into a building and then taunt everyone.
That's also a very good idea.
And put him in there with the heavy bolter guy, so they're basically just killing everybody.
Okay, one of my favorite things.
I didn't know you could talk from the
And
Yeah, you can. It's awesome.
Yeah, you can. And Retribution, you get Martellus, which is an engineer, or NG for short, as we like to call them.
Technically, he's a tech marine.
Whatever. You know what I mean.
Lore, anyway.
Lore, yeah, we're not going into lore today. Okay, so anyway, so he's your NG. And this guy is insane. In the first game, in Dawn of War 2, you had a certain amount of tarantula bolters, which is pretty much a heavy turret that you can set down. Well, this guy, for all of your mana, which regens quite fast, you can put down a heavy bolter, which allows you to turtle like a champ.
Although how one turtles in those games will be a little.
Yeah,
You're forced in order to beat the level. You must move forward.
I know, but in one specific level, you have to defend these areas. I literally had 4 guys, my 4 heroes, and like 10 tarantula bolt turrets.
That's true. There are a couple of missions where it's defend X area.
Yeah.
Another thing is the squad-based games share a bit with the 4X. Especially Dawn of War, there is an overland map where you kind of choose where you're going to go next.
Oh yeah, that is fun.
Well, that's the ones we've played. There's overworlds and all kinds of even resource management ones. It's just that the overworld part of a resource management game isn't quite as important. It's just you're choosing to do this mission next or that mission next. In fact,
it's more to choose your the battle map than it is for anything else.
Well, it also one also choose your progression of gear you get. Cause
it is the opportunity that you get when you can access your armory and your level up and stuff like that.
Also with Dawn of War 2, it makes it, or you choose what bonuses you get basically. Because once you in the maps there is 2 things you get to choose between, like and each one will give you a different bonus, but you can only choose one of them.
Yeah, the relics that you can find and activate, you only have enough power, of course, you can drop down to activate 1, but it's normally 2 on each map. So, you guys, it's like totally distracting. Your hand signals.
Complete and utter distractions, guys.
You guys need to learn to be more professional, not get distracted by us throwing hand signs around.
Throwing hand signs. Epilepsy, anyone?
I learned that one.
Epilepsy, how does that even apply?
I think I used the wrong terminology.
That's
okay, yeah,
Whatever.
Same thing.
Same
almost.
Anyway,
Okay.
back to RTSs, people. Back to RTSs.
Back to the real time varieties.
What's our time count? We
We got
Time. Let's go.
we got time. We got time.
How much time?
It's in the kitchen.
What?
We don't like talking about how much time we're at.
Yeah, last
Fine.
time
37 or so. That's where we're at.
32.
32? Okay.
Okay.
Now we're
Anyway,
34.
What do you guys want to touch on now?
What?
What do we want to touch on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we've covered just about everything.
I think the only thing you guys haven't really talked about too much is Command and Conquer, like any kind of mechanical difference.
We didn't talk about too much in just the kind of the gameplay mechanics of the Command and Conquer games. We mostly talked about the craft games.
Yeah, I know.
But aren't the gameplay mechanics almost exactly the same?
Yes and no. The difference is in the craft games, you're specifically going out and like chopping down a tree and bringing it back, or going to a mine and grabbing rocks and bringing it back.
Also, you know what that reminds me of is Age of Empires, like 1 and 2. You guys ever played those?
Oh yeah, Age of Empires.
Yeah.
Right. I remember there was the cheat to get the like spy car that has guns. It was awesome. It was like a cheat. It was like vroom vroom, and you got this car, and it drives around with machine guns. It's amazing.
Are you serious? That's epic. I want that car.
It was Age of Empires 2, I think.
We need some of those in Shogun.
Yes.
Yes, we do. If I could get tanks and Shogun, you know how happy I would be right now.
I think that might be in the DLC. They have like
I
cannons.
don't
at
even think
least.
there are
Yeah,
tanks
Gatling
in
guns.
Japan.
Oh god, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Fall of the Samurai, the expansion pack.
It's
comes with
really
cannons
annoying.
and Gatling guns.
Have you
Like
played
it
it?
gets
Oh,
all
nice. But how
Last
they-
Samurai on you.
Yeah,
Last Samurai. That's an amazing movie.
I like that
It's
movie.
Anyway, guys. So
Josh,
See, that's the big
not like
difference between them. And I really like the Command and Conquer games, especially the Siberian Wars was my favorite setting for the Command and Conquer. But that's really because it's more different. Like, I like more unique kind of settings and stuff. If it's just, this guy versus the terrorists, and you just have modern weapons, like the generals in the original Command & Conquers.
Well, the earlier ones.
Yeah, the earlier ones.
But basically by 2, they'd gotten past the idea of it being very normal by any means. But in 1, yeah, it was more just kind of generic terrorist organization with an awesome megalomaniac as the leader versus global defense initiative. Yeah, sure.
Wait, Tiberium was as the factions from the original first one?
Yeah, they're all the same.
Well, no, there's Tiberium was a separate universe, then there was Generals, and then there was Red Alert.
Red Alert and Generals, I think, is
Command & Conquer, the original one, is part of Tiberium Wars.
Oh, cool. So they threw in Tiberium later?
It's in the original one. It's just not that big of a thing other than it's something you collect. It's because they basically used the Dune 2 thing, which had harvesters and spice, and they changed it to harvesters and Tiberium.
Oh, the difference.
Well, but they did make it a big thing later.
Yeah, like spice.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun on Xbox, actually, because it came out for that, and then Xbox Live, playing with friends on the expansion for Command & Conquer 4, which was King's Wrath.
I don't do RTSs on the Xbox.
Jamie 3? Wasn't that one 3?
Yes, it was 3, I'm sorry. 4 is the one on the computer,
That is also
which had the crawlers, which is another really big mechanic change. That's kind of out of our topics.
We didn't like it.
Do you want to touch on it at all?
Did you like it?
I thought it was an interesting change.
Isn't that where your base moves?
Yeah, I was also going to talk about another thing that you also have a similar experience to, but we'll get to that later.
Did you want to touch on the crawlers?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what it was in Command & Conquer 4 is they decided I'm not sure how it connected to the other ones too well, but what it was, instead of having a base, you had a giant vehicle, which was called your crawler, and you would choose what you wanted to specialize in: offense, defense, or support, and your crawler and your units and your powers would change based on that selection. Offense was a walker with 4 legs, had more defense, and you could upgrade it to get turrets and stuff.
Pretty soon defense had the most defense.
Yeah, but had more offense.
You said defense.
You said defense.
Well, I don't know if defense had more armor. I never actually looked at the specs for the different walkers. So yeah, defense had treads, and then support could actually fly, which would allow it to kind of fly over terrain up things that everyone else would have to go around to kind of support different armies. It was very co-op based.
That's
Which is actually really annoying if you don't have online.
If you didn't have a friend to play with, it was kind of suck. I actually did manage to get someone to play with, a friend of mine from Xbox Live, and it was a lot of fun playing the campaign with both of us. And so each group would specialize in different things, and you could build things in your crawler while it's walking around. But in order to build and put any buildings down for your defense, because defense is the one against buildings, or to release units from your crawler, you had to set it down, make it a stationary building, in which case all your units would pop out, or you could place down buildings. And it was a very interesting kind of concept. It was also sort of control point as well. The main thing was controlling these satellite uplink type things. I don't remember what they were exactly. It's been a while since I've touched on the story very much.
Alright.
What? This is all going to me.
Was there anything you wanted to add about the crawlers?
You look like you wanted to say something. And you
No,
didn't
I don't
like
like
it.
it.
Why didn't you like it?
Because it got rid of all the real points I kind of liked about it, because it got rid of research gathering altogether. And instead, it was just a really huge shift. And I just didn't like it just because I liked that kind of game. I really did like the other Command & Conquer games.
With 40K Dawn of War 1, it was capture points too. Were those similar?
No, it wasn't capture points so much in Command & Conquer 4, which is it was like control points. Think of like king of the hill, but with 6 different areas you have to control.
But isn't that what the points were basically?
It was a little bit of both in the first Dawn of War. Is there was a couple of the strategic points which you had to capture to win.
Yeah.
Which are just like the points in Command and Conquer 4.
Actually,
only if you were playing that game.
yeah, there's a specific game mode that you use to capture those points. And the first one.
So do you just need to capture the points then?
No. Most people, at least we never played the game mode that was the strategic capture. We preferred just to wipe out the enemy. Annihilation was the game mode we played. But the difference was that the majority of the points in Dawn of War were your resources, actually. Whereas in the most resource gatherers, you went out and you harvested something and brought it back to your base.
In Dawn of War 4 you do that? Or not Dawn of War?
No.
Command and Conquer 4.
No, not 4. 4 you just got money over time. I actually don't remember where you got the money.
I think it just took time to build units.
Okay. Oh, really? That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what I was wondering. I was wondering.
You had to upgrade in order to get more units, and you had to find Tiberium crystals, one like gigantic one or another, in order to get certain.
Yeah, that you did research with the Tiberium crystals.
Yeah.
Oh.
There weren't really that many resources. I don't believe. I don't believe there were
So
resources
basically, there's one resource that you might want.
Yeah, the research points. Really, I want to say that I guess there wasn't any money. It was just how many you can only have this many units, and it takes this long to build these guys. It was actually very much based on a system called hard counters, which is like in a more the common thing is like machine guns are good versus infantry.
Oh yeah.
Rockets are good versus vehicles, which most RTSs have that, but it was like the thing to counter. So it was kind of like you had to predict your enemy, like what are they going to be coming at me with, and how do I counter that?
Or you just build a little bit of everything, and then once all
and
your
then die.
Why?
They would kill your things that were good against theirs.
And then you just build more of the guys that are good against theirs.
You can't have that many units, but then you'd be able to look at a bunch of. Yeah.
That's why you would also.
It's a very delicate balance.
Yeah.
You can try to be kind of jack of all trades and have a little bit of everything, but if they have too much of this thing, then you won't have enough to counter theirs. So it was really kind of neat dynamic. You could just see it shift in the map and how the armies are running across the field, just and who was winning with the counters.
Oh, okay. Because another thing with the at least with the support guy, where you could fly away whenever like
when you're
overwhelmed.
But they would normally have
anti-air
guys to come after you.
Well,
it was kind of a hard thing to actually. Ground people could shoot at the support people. Like, I'm pretty sure ground units could shoot at the support crawler, even if they weren't anti-air. Like, if they couldn't shoot at airplanes, they could shoot the support crawler. It was more like it hovered.
Okay, but no, I'm saying to like get it and move it over
over
a mountain. Or yeah, and then they'd take forever to get to you, and then by then you could probably get a few more guys.
That was a thing the support could do. Definitely.
But that's only something, like, after thinking about it, something only the support could do.
Yeah, only support could do that. And actually, if you're playing support and an enemy army has reached your crawler, you're kind of in trouble. Because all you have is aircraft and some really, really tiny ground units. Support mostly did aircraft so they could be the really fast mover and fly all around the battlefield.
With what I'm thinking about, it would probably take a little bit more understanding of it, and maybe trial and error a few times.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played though.
Support one also had some pretty cool special abilities, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, support had some of the funner special abilities because they were support. Like, abilities were their thing.
Yeah.
I think they were the one that had the nuke, didn't they?
Yes, support was the one that had your super weapon.
Super weapon.
Oh, another thing that was interesting about Command & Conquer was it had a global leveling system where the units you could use and the powers you could use were restricted by your level and the upgrades you could have. And it was the same across all things. Like, you were playing the campaign, you would level up, and that level would be the same as multiplayer. So let's say you're having problems with the campaign, you could go and play multiplayer for a while, or skirmish for a while, and level up, and then come back to campaign and use your new and better units to try to beat the campaign.
Which is nice.
One thing I think was kind of lost, though, when they switched to Command & Conquer 4, and it's something that I guess is slightly present in just about all RTSs are different factions and the differences between them.
Oh, yeah.
With because of the heavy focus on hard counters and whatnot in Command and Conquer 4, you kind of lost a lot of that variance between NOD and GDI, where they became a lot more similar, just so that the counters would be, just so that each side would have an equal chance with the counters.
That's sort of true, but that was true for the base, but the difference came in the special abilities of your different units. Instead of like the Nod, where all their special abilities were still focused on speed and stealth, and most of their units were faster but slightly less armored, and they're much better at ambushing and stuff like Nod has always been. So yeah, it did take it away a bit, but they did manage to keep it there kind of in spirit for some things.
Yeah.
And Nod had stealth, whereas GDI didn't. Which
And I noticed it's something that will inevitably be something, having really different factions is something that's going to be restricted more to resource management games just by concept. I mean, it can be more present, fairly present in, like, say, a squad-based game, though not, I suppose, to the same degree, because you want to be able to have each squad member still fill a whole range of roles. And in a 4X game, it's hardly present just because of the difficulty if you really wanted to make the factions that hugely different. Like, they have things that are just theirs. Normally in that one, from what I've seen in 4X games, you have access to these things from the start. You have these resources already.
Or your guys are slightly better than those types of the other guys, which is what Shogun and Medieval Total War does.
Okay, yeah, basically, you said that they, like, each different faction has a better type of unit of this certain unit, and then each of them are different. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I have played a whole lot of a few games where they decided not to make the factions different at all.
More like a name and color other than...
Yeah.
Like, game I play called Total Annihilation. Fun game. That's exactly what they do. They change what they look like, their name and their color, and that's it.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I loved Command & Conquer 3 and was kind of really disappointed about Command & Conquer 4 is Command & Conquer 3 had the third faction.
The Chinese.
No, that would be generals.
No, I'm pretty sure that was one of the...
No, or the Japanese in Red Alert 3.
That's it.
Okay.
That's Chinese.
Which were also my favorite in there.
Yeah.
But in Command & Conquer 3, they had the aliens called the Skrin, who had a sort of much different playstyle and also had the best stuff to turtle with. So they were my favorite. Plus, I always like picking a really kind of weird faction.
I'm with you.
So if I can play the aliens or the Japanese in Red Alert 3 with their crazy transforming mechs and psychic schoolgirls,
which is
then I'm going to pick that over the standard sort of American-like faction who just has big tanks and has big vehicles.
Alright. Every faction in Red Alert 3 was crazy. Japan was just a little bit further down the craziness.
Which is exactly why I picked them.
Which is also what reminds me of Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth.
Yeah, the first one...
Okay, the first one was freaking insane. You had two armies, or four armies. You had the Uruk-hai, which...
well, essentially you had two.
Essentially you had two, but... because all of them had different playstyles.
When you actually took it all, when you actually, I believe played the multiplayer, you had two. Never mind, you had four.
You had four, okay.
Right.
Because, so for the good, you had Gondor, which their infantry was superb to the other good one, which was Rohan, who had better, horsemen.
Superior.
Thank you. But with the evil,
I didn't hear what he said.
with evil, you had the Uruk-hai, who also had better infantry, and they actually got someone help me out here. Cavalry, thank you.
What?
I never played the first one.
What cavalry did they have?
They had the Ward Riders. Uruk-hai had Ward Riders.
Oh yeah, I never used those. That's right.
Who needs Ward?
Yeah, I don't think anyone actually.
Well, no, people may have used them. I don't know.
I never used them. Really.
Completely
anyway, but they also got siege weapons. While
So did
the orcs. They got siege weapons, but their siege weapons were far worse than the other guys.
You should talk about what's the fourth.
They had the siege towers.
There's
I'm pretty
orcs,
sure the siege
guys.
towers.
Yeah,
were
talk
the
about the
best.
orcs. Just give the overview of who they
Okay,
are.
orcs. They're spawn rushers. Period. Their
So,
first units
the
cost
Lord of the Rings
nothing.
version of the Zerg, pretty much.
Pretty much. No, because
Or the
their
Necron.
units are super weak.
Oh, a legitimate strategy within that game is to take the cheapest unit, keep making them, and then have them and then send them to the slaughterhouse to be turned into meat so that you can make more.
Yes. So your first
They
unit,
actually cost less to produce than you get from killing them.
which is completely true, because the orcs, your base unit, costs nothing. Literally nothing.
It sounds
It was
kind
on-
of hacked.
It is hacks because you also get an ability later, like it's a ring ability. I'll talk about it later. That make it so you super spawn these orcs like super fast, and you can get crapload more of them. So one of my favorite things to do was upgrade their weapons and armor, because pretty much all I bought was orcs, and just send them against the enemy.
However, a slight restricting factor is that is you have a population cap.
Yeah. And then when you get farther into the game, get trolls, which is literally my favorite unit in the
If you
entire
did
game.
just stick with orcs the entire time, and once you hit population cap, or then your opponent might have hit population cap with their higher tier units.
No,
No,
it's
because they're more expensive.
I mean, late game though, like really late
Late
game. If you're still using orcs, and then it's been long enough for them to hit population cap with better units, then you're probably gonna get slaughtered.
Oh
Yeah, you're gonna get run over by
Wait, no, unless because since you have since it costs nothing, you got enough money or whatever
Yeah, which is
resources,
when you
and then you send them there, and they all die, and then you half of them die, then you start spawning trolls.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do, because your units also leveled up. Well, when trolls level up, first they start as just regular like trolls that you see like
Punching things.
punching.
They're
It's kind of like the cave troll in the first movie.
Yeah.
Except they have those helmets that you see in Mordor, and they're bigger.
I think that does later.
Anyway, when they upgrade to level 3, which is their max level, they get battle armor. Battle armor is evil. Okay, if
It's neutral.
No, it's just literally evil armor. It's the
Yeah.
evil faction. Everything is evil.
So they enchant it with unholy. My bad.
yeah. Okay.
The very grass.
You
they
can
stand
send
on is
a 3rd level troll against a battalion of 3rd level mounted people, and the troll will win every time. Every time.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, so now let's not go into an argument about trolls and what their fighting ability
the
is.
tactics of the different ones were with Rohan,
Yeah.
you wanted to just upgrade your horsemen, and the horsemen allowed you
And
to do
Ents.
really well against infantry. You would use Ents if you really felt like having an absurdly powerful unit. It's hard to get them.
Yes, Rohan ends.
I don't think you are able to get them. I don't know what building builds them. I think it's their special building.
Yeah.
Why would
Yeah.
Rohan have ends though? Why would you choose them to get ends?
Because there wasn't anyone else to really get the ends, and they had to
Yeah, they
incorporate the
also-
ends in there.
No, though, in order to do it, they have to capture a special building.
Yeah, it's called, you have to capture the end or build one or
Oh,
something.
you have more?
Yeah, and then you can build them.
Because in this one they had Merry and Pippin, I think. Did they have Merry and Pippin? Did they have the hobbits? I thought they did.
Well, I don't know if they had both. Maybe
I don't think they have.
One of them was with Rohan. Like in the movie, one of the puppets
Okay.
ended up with Rohan.
Anyway.
Wait. Instead, are you guys done with the comparing the different factions
Yeah,
build?
I'm done.
Okay, so what about the ring abilities you're talking about? 'Cause you said you
Okay, so
can
ring abilities, when you play campaign, which is pretty much just your two factions, is good and evil, you get you just get all of the evil or good abilities depending on your faction, but when you play skirmish, each person gets a different set of ring abilities. And what?
Like each player, you mean?
No, each faction gets a different set.
Okay, so each faction.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to
You
be.
said person.
Oh, my
so
bad.
That's
Okay.
kind of like misleading as to units or
Yeah.
players.
No, okay,
or...
sorry. No, each faction
Yeah.
gets a different ring. Like, Gondor got heal. They can heal their units. While Rohan got something where anyway.
I'll explain it easier. It's a system of leveling, basically.
Thank you.
You get to level up. You have a tree of special abilities that you can level up, and each of the 4 factions has different ones. That's about it.
all the different things. Okay,
essentially the same as it ended up being on Battlefield Middle-earth 2, which actually
I
did-
suppose.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, so that's all with that. Alright, so the last thing I wanted to say that I feel is kind of new is Nuclear Dawn. I just got that a little bit ago.
Oh, that's it is semi-new in a way, but I think there has been some older things.
Yeah,
that
It has,
happened.
but it's not a big thing. Like, nobody's ever done it really, really well to capture a lot of people.
And
So
so
I
it
feel
was
it's-
mostly in mods and stuff from what I found. Like I found one Half-Life 2 mod that did it.
There's actually.
By the way, we
there's
should.
a
Yes,
series
yes.
of games that actually does exactly that. I
Actually,
don't know what they're called, but my
Why don't we tell people what it is?
Yeah.
First. Okay, so 1 or 2 guys, I forget what the number is on Nuclear Dawn at least, is they get to be the builder.
It's one guy per team.
One guy? It is?
Pretty sure.
I didn't know. I swear I've seen multiple of those little bases you can jump into. But they get to be the builder in the the
They take the
resource.
They take the place of the standard RTS commander, where they get the top-down view. They can see all the units and they can build buildings.
And then everyone else on the server gets to be one of the 4, I think it is, classes where they have your average, shooter classes like from Team Fortress 2. And so this has been a mod thing for a while, but why hasn't anybody tried to make
Actually,
it? Oh wait,
there's big
who's done
games.
who's done a big game like that? 'Cause they have
Games? No one really. It's a game.
I know one that
download.
kind of touched on it. The Battlefield games for the computer had it close. I know at least Battlefield 2, they had this sort of hierarchy system of command. One person would be the commander for your entire team, and they could go into a sort of top-down map and order the different squads around, which players would form into squads, with one squad leader who would be in charge of that squad, and then the commander was in charge of each different squad. So they would give them objectives like Squad 1 captured this point.
So which game was this again? Battlefield 2?
This is Battlefield 2.
So really?
Yeah.
Battlefield 2 did it?
And then the commander could also call in special abilities.
Did Battlefield 3 do this?
Battlefield 3... I never played Battlefield 3.
And it came out new.
It was mostly on the computer. When this happened, Battlefield 2 was on the computer.
Because I remember
Battlefield 2 for the console actually didn't have this, what I remember.
Okay, that might be why I didn't know anything about it. Because I remember playing a little bit of Battlefield 2.
Well, but yeah, yes. Just trying to get a little.
The commander could call in like artillery strikes or UAV sweeps and things like that for the squad members down there. But they could also choose to be a regular first-person guy running around as well. You could issue orders both from the top-down map view or from your first-person view like a regular player.
Okay, that sounds kind of good. Other than they don't do a building in that game,
Yeah,
right?
and then there was MAG
Oh yeah,
for the
which
PlayStation 3.
yeah, I wasn't able to play because I didn't have it.
Yeah, I have MAG. That's pretty fun. I don't play much anymore though. But what it was is it's massive action game, which is kind of a lame name personally. But what it was is it's an online-only game for the PlayStation 3 that's much like the Battlefield setup that I just described, only at a much, much larger scale. The biggest game mode had 200-something players in every match. It was pretty crazy, like 100 and something. I can't remember right now.
That would be such a weird map.
It was pretty, but it actually managed to not be chaotic. Like, you wouldn't have all of a sudden 30 guys attacking you. What it was is, it also had a tiered system, but it was more in-depth for command than Battlefield did, where you had your commander at the top, who saw your entire team, then your platoon leaders, who were in charge of 4 squads, then squad leaders, who were in charge of, like, 4 guys.
Oh, thanks.
Or, like, 6 guys. I have it with me.
Yeah, no, so.
And each tier of command would also have its own, it would issue its own orders and have its own special abilities that it could call in. Squad commanders could call in artillery strikes, I think, and UAV sweeps. Platoon leaders I actually never got to be able to leader or commander. I can only ever be squad leader, so I'm not too familiar with what they can do. I know the full commander can call in some like big overarching stuff, like a blockade on enemy reinforcements, so that they all respawn slower, or a fast make speed of your respawning. And so if you use this at the same time, you can like make one big push with your guys coming in like crazy, and the other guys coming in really slow. And the maps were just huge and had a bunch of little objectives where each squad would be in charge of capturing this, where this enemy squad would be in charge of defending it. And that it was a very delicate balance of being chaotic, while at the same time you don't really notice that you're playing with 200 something other people.
Just cool.
Yeah, because you don't run into them very often because of the... Unless you don't follow orders, but then...
But when you get more points if you're following orders, the worse a bit of incentive there. Then you're more likely to die if you're not hanging with your squad.
Wait, what happens if, like, what's the points do?
You level up. They had a whole level up system.
With the ranks and all
where
that.
you would buy new weapons after you unlock them, and you would get upgrades for your weapons and equipments that you can have.
I really want to play this one.
It's cool. I like it.
Okay, anyway, so let's keep going, guys.
Alright,
We should
so...
probably wrap this up soon.
Yeah, because we're pretty much done here with...
Yeah, we just had 15 minutes about Mag. I'm pretty certain we're done.
Cool, nice.
Okay.
Awesome. Don't be hating.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, by the way, the full title sucks, but the small title is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're going to be signing off.